We're very dour today.
Now it should be coming through.
Please excuse the interruption.
My microphone
experiencing technical difficulties.
My microphone disconnected there. Anyway, welcome to the Voice of Terminus show. I'm joined by my co-host Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hey guys.
And we have Lexa here as well. Another co-host. Say hello. And in the background,
I know what's happening today, and you can just die in a fire.
And in the background, we have Shy with us, our wonderful moderator and fill-in co-host. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
She will be taking questions, thoughts, ideas during the show that we will discuss towards the end. But before we get into this discussion, our topic today is general discussion: storytelling in MMOs. Is it needed? How important is it? Etc. in this day and age. But before we get into that, we need to announce two things. One of them basically happened actually during the pre-show, so we'll get to that one in a minute. But you guys remember a few months back, Lexa ran his mouth VR. He challenged them, and then we kind of came up with the idea with the whole "Welcome to the Light" T-shirt that Dayhawk designed for us. Well, guess what? I have one, and we're giving one away. Dun, 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 dun. We're going to be giving one of these away. Like we promised you guys that we will be doing a giveaway. We had a few issues getting this all set up.
Oh, Lexi.
And
I'm going to enter the contest just so I can win it and burn it.
And on the 30th of November is when we will be doing this giveaway for this T-shirt, which is also now purchasable. You can see it in the Twitch description at the bottom. We have our merchandise store up. It's still pretty raw. It's still getting filled with content for you guys. We want to help support us. But anyway, that's the first announcement that we'll be doing, the giveaway. And the second one is we'll be doing another giveaway, but this contest is basically going to be reversed. Josh had a cool idea, or I think it was Shy or Josh, where we want people to draw us three as we are right now. So our real life faces, with me in the middle, Joshua to my left, whispering in my ear, looking like an angel, Lexa to my right, shouting at me, looking like the devil, basically. Okay, we're not going to go into details to why we want this. This is just what we would like to have done. This contest will be running until the end of the year, and then basically the middle of January, when we come back from our break, we will basically pick the winners. There'll be, I think we'll have 2 winners for this show, for this contest, and we'll do a few giveaways of choice. You can choose a few things that you would like to have. We'll give you a few options, and you can choose one of those options, and yeah, we'll be doing that. So we'll get that put up onto the website as well, and on Twitter, all the information for this. But yeah, I thought, why not? That sounded like a pretty cool idea. Thanks to Josh or Shy, whoever came up with it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Very cool.
So anyway, just to show it off again, it's real. Welcome to the light. I love you all, Paladins. Awesome work, Dayhawk. Thank you very much for providing that. So
anyone that has anything to do with that shirt, I hate you.
So
disclaimer.
Our discussion today is a general topic on storytelling in MMOs, because a few of our recent shows basically sparked debates about questing in MMOs. That quite a few people were more towards having absolutely no quests in an MMO or in Pantheon itself. So that begged us the question to, why would we play an MMO like Pantheon if there's absolutely no quests in a game? What would drive us towards this? And it comes down to the storytelling in MMOs. That is the most important key as far as I'm personally concerned. If there's a good backstory, good lore, and a good involvement as a character, as a player character, to delve into these stories and unlock further information and more about these stories as they're revealed, that makes a good game. What are your thoughts, Josh, Lex? We'll start with you, Josh.
One other angle I'd like to just add to what you're saying over there is that can an MMO actually be done without a story? So we look on the other aspect of it as well. Is it something that is even possible? But certainly that's one thing that really adds another level and flavor to an MMO if they do have some compelling storyline. With basically you have your antagonists within the game itself that people can build their characters around and develop the game itself through those eyes. So yeah, I think it is fairly important to have something like that there.
Lex, what's your thoughts on this?
Is it possible to do an MMO without a story? Oh yeah. The problem with it is that you're appealing to a certain crowd. It's more accessible to have quests and allow people not to do them than to not have them and have people that want them. But again, speaking from experience, the majority of quests to me are repetitive, redundant, boring, poorly crafted. So I've gotten to the point where I don't care about quests.
Yeah.
Back in the day when quests were actually crafted with a little bit of affection, I really liked them. It's maybe not all of them caught my my appreciation, but there are a few that still stick in my head that were fantastic, and I would do them again today.
Yeah. You bring up a good point there, which will kind of bring us more in depth into the discussion. In MMOs, quests basically play a major part to most of these games, and you talked about some of these redundant quests. Travel from point A to B, or go and kill X amount of these time and time again. We know why they're there. We understand why they're there. Time sinks, ways to advance your character's experience, etc. We know why they're all there. The question is, or more along the lines of, why isn't more done? Why aren't there more compelling stories? Why do quests have to be something that is a shortcoming? That's done over a few hours or a couple of days. Why can't quests be something that expand over expansions that could take maybe a year to do? And it comes down to the storytelling part of this as well. That's where a lot of these developers lack the interaction and the immersion towards their game. Yeah. Not
developers lack, but that's because to do what you're saying requires good writing.
Yeah,
developers are not always writers.
No. I'm just saying that's basically where these studios.
But that's usually why.
Exactly.
Like when you look at SWTOR, they had a team of writers. So yeah, the single player-esque storyline is fantastic. The stories make sense. They happen in a logical order. The story is compelling. The dialogue is interesting. So yeah, of course, those quests are going to be, head and shoulders above a lot of what's out there.
Yeah.
But then you've got stuff like, as an example, Rift. Not trying to pick on Rift. I used to love Rift, but once you get past a certain point, all the quests are basically like, yeah, whatever. Because the story really. It might make a little bit of sense, but it's such a thin connection that we no longer care.
Yeah. And and that's the whole thing. That's
and
go on, Josh.
Just to add into that as well. I mean, the importance of the Star Wars game itself, where they had that whole staff of writing, you could actually see the quality of the writing within the actual MMO itself. There was also another game which failed to come to light, but actually had like Salvatore as one of its main writers itself.
Wasn't that Neverwinter? That Neverwinter Online one?
No. This was the one that the guy basically lost all the money, and Rhode Island basically had to dissolve the company.
Right, that big debacle.
Yeah, exactly. And the one guy was the owner was a baseball player, professional baseball player, and he sunk tons of money into it. But anyway, the point of that is that they had like Salvatore as one of the main writers. And I was really looking forward to that MMO to come out, because I thought the storyline would be fantastic. So there definitely is, these guys are trying to put a lot of effort into getting the stories into these MMOs. Yeah. But just not enough.
So I just want to quickly jump in here, because I agree with you guys to some point about, Star Wars. The difference with Star Wars is there was so much already there. Over 30 years prior to Star Wars Online coming out as a game. So that made life a lot easier. When we compare that when we compare that to all the other MMOs out there, be it Elder Scrolls, be it EverQuest, be it Vanguard, etc. Those are purely fictional, based off of a game studio coming up with a cool idea, trying to tell a story of some sort. With Star Wars, a lot of the things that were there were, you could kind of, yeah, I remember this, and yeah, this looks like so and so. So it was a lot easier for them there. But you're absolutely right on the part that basically a good story is, what comes to it. But what could they do basically to make it more compelling? Is instead of having these stories basically put out there where you get a glimpse of what's going on, but your involvement is so minimal. If they could bring the involvement to these stories, and basically, as we progress through the games, unlock more and more about everything that's going on, I think that's kind of, where they could get an upper hand nowadays. If they start to involve us more into the back stories of the game. If you look at all these solo player games like The Witcher, for instance, brilliant. From Witcher 1 to Witcher 3, you're involved in the story throughout completely. You go through your game. If you look at the new Rockstar game, Red Dead Redemption 2, how compelling that is and how involved you are there. That's where I think basically a lot can happen, especially in MMOs, because an MMO isn't something that we play and after 5 days you've played through the game, you toss it to the side, you're done with it. This is something that we plan to play for many years to come. So involve us for many years to come. Exactly. At least 10 years is the time frame that you want to invest in an MMO, or expect to invest in an MMO. And I do agree with a lot of people that said basically lesser quests. Make lesser quests, but make them more compelling, make them more involved. I mean, the perception system that VR are going with is a breakthrough for this. They could utilize that on a level that would bring us more into what's going on outside of the game itself with the story.
The question is as well, is that in like the likes of Red Dead Redemption and those games that you just spoke about now, you are the hero. You are the driver, the driving force to get to the end of the game. But in an MMO, you really don't want you to be the hero of the MMO, because then it really cheapens the whole experience at the end of the day. So how do you shift that marker so that maybe an NPC becomes the main hero within an MMO, and you just become somebody to assist, to help, to build, and drive the world forward in that regard? Is that the direction that should be taken? I'm not sure.
Well,
see, I think it all comes down to what kind of hero you want to be, because everyone wants to be their own style of hero. You know, some people, and this comes down to some people like to be a group, be grouping stuff. You know, so they want to be a party of heroes. Some people like to solo. They want to be the only hero in their world, and there's nothing wrong with either. You know, some others want to be the hero that helps take down a god. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think one of the biggest problems now is that I've said it before in a previous show where some of these quests are not quests. They're just jobs or tasks. You know, it's like, hey, can you sweep the floor? That is not a quest. I'm not going to strap on a tabard and a full plate mail and charge into battle to sweep the freaking floor. Yeah. You know, that is not a quest for me. That is just a task, which when you label it appropriately, a task or a lesser quest, would literally just feel like something to get something short that I can gain from. That's it.
Yeah.
For me, at least, a lot of times when you put that quest label on whatever, I'm expecting to go on an adventure. And that could just be the old school, you know, you grow up with the MMO evolution and you kind of get the stars stuck in your head, and maybe. But I think if you name it a quest, it should actually lead you to an adventure. Not just, oh, go over here and do something quick and come back.
Yeah, you know, it's just to add to what you were saying, Josh and Lex. You know, the big problem is basically with an MMO, especially the way, if you look at Pantheon, the way it's designed, you have your so-called evil classes, you have your so-called not neutral classes, you have your so-called good classes. You know, there's going to be quests most probably, or stories that we can engage in that are only going to be for the, you know, a certain class, a certain, you know, a certain race maybe. But, you know, as far as it looks now, there's, at this current stage, there's going to be no limitations. There's going to be no, you can't group up with an ogre, with a human, or with a gnome. Anybody can basically group up. You have these different factions basically, but anybody can group together. So how do you go about telling the story, or how do you go about, you know, bringing everybody into their own personal approach to becoming what they want to become? The evil villain, the hero, the lone hero, the silent, you know, in the background person. How do you do that? And that's where that's where I think developers, storytellers need to explore what they have. I mean, if we look at the perception system, for instance, it's a fantastic tool, and I'm sure there's definitely ways to expand on that and bring out different paths for everybody that still bring us all together. Another thing I want to touch on, what you said, Josh, as well, is about, you know, having NPCs that become maybe a hero.
And you're just a supporting character.
Yeah, Rockstar have done that basically with Red Dead Redemption. When you
technically, didn't Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars 1 do that?
I don't know.
I don't know about Guild Wars 2.
But if you play Red Dead Redemption 2, every time you play that game and you start anew, the characters that you meet in the world react differently. So I could meet Lexa in that game as an NPC, and he's now chatting up some girl in a bar. And the next time I actually start the game and play, he might be having a bar fight. Or he might be, you know, an outlaw.
Having a bath.
The characters react completely differently each time you engage in that game. So it's not going to be constantly the same. So the NPCs are dynamic, and that's basically the next step in evolution, is having something like that where you could maybe impact the game itself and change something within the game without changing something for you. I think that would be pretty cool to see happen, actually. And based on what the server basically does in that direction, it's going to have a different impact on us. You know, we talked about this way back again with dynamic world events where things change. This kind of touches in the storytelling as well, because you know, if we have multiple servers and we make this NPC in Thronefast become King of Thronefast. You know, right. Thronefast is going to change, and the dynamics are going to change for that particular server. Whereas for a different one, it's not. They might not make him be king. They might try and stop him. And those are things that I think could help bring us into a balance of not having too much quests, not having too much of these overthrown tasks, what they call quests and adventures and everything, basically bringing us in that direction. Go on, Lex.
See, I've been a firm believer for years that if I were ever to sit down and actually get a team together and make an MMO, I would spend more time on making the world feel alive. Because quests are scripted stories, and they're fine, right? I mean, if you have a primary story, yeah, it's got to be scripted, because it would be weird for someone to go through the story of the world or the main plot of what the game's about and have something different happen. Like, oh, the hero died in mine, so then it was some crazy person who took over the world. And be like, what? You know? But if the world is dynamic and it feels like it's going to go on without you, as the world will in real life, people will go out, they will explore, they will make their own quests or their own adventure. Because, to be honest, quests kind of started as a way to give people a kickstart to getting into an adventure.
To understanding the game, getting the experience, etc.
Right. If you look at the older games, you know, Ultima Online, Anarchy Online, EverQuest, yeah, the quests are there, but there wasn't a whole, like a massive amount like nowadays. And most of them were, well, some of them were kind of silly, to be honest. Like, who remembers the EverQuest 1 mail delivery for, like, bards and stuff?
But so,
you know,
I just want to add to that and just say that that's all good and well, and I really enjoy the building up of quests to develop your characters themselves, and then leading to bigger stories itself. But I think Pantheon has a real opportunity here to look at it from a group perspective. So maybe quest givers don't actually give any quests until you actually have a group of 5 or 6 people, right?
That's a possibility.
So it becomes more group driven in terms of driving that story forward, because you're all meant to work together at the end of the day.
Right. See, what if quests were almost like reactionary? Meaning, we've used this example a dozen times before. You have a goblin cave, and all of a sudden orcs go in, you know, and take it over. Well, you could get a quest that is a reactionary quest to that area, whereas it's still technically a scripted story, but it's more of a, hey, just go check this out.
That's something that would basically, this would basically eliminate having to have quests in an MMO, because the question I have to ask right now is, if there wasn't any story whatsoever, any compelling story to Pantheon with the lore and everything, and there were absolutely no quests in the game, what would make Pantheon that good? That's the question I ask, because it would be another
there's only one good answer. There's really only one good answer, and that's the community.
Yeah,
other people that are there with you. Even if you're solo, you're still going to interact with people. That's going to create your experience.
Exploration is another thing.
Yeah, I mean, lore is great for immersion. Lore is great as a platform to start the stories that should branch off into quests.
Yep. So, but anyway, to touch on your idea though, Lex, real quick. We talked about this idea. This is something that other studios tried and sadly failed. But there's other studios that have done this, and it seems to be working for them. Having, the world itself be dynamic, and you have these reactions happen. So goblins come along, try to take over this cave. Now it's, and the giants have been raided out of this cave. Now you've got goblins in there. Now you take on a quest to try and free it back up again, or a challenge or whatever to free it back up. That's a way to eliminate it and, you know, keep the game engaging. Because I'm going to be honest with you, right? Exploration, yes, absolutely right. Community, yes, but there'll be it will be a game where I'm not going to, you know, this is my personal opinion, right? For me, if there was no intriguing story and no real quests, and I'm talking about quests that, like I mentioned at the very beginning, you know, I would like to see quests that are long driven, compelling, that aren't really just, you know, run from A to B. It's something that builds up, meaningful. Maybe I have to achieve something else, or do a different go visit a different area to unlock further, explore and find something to unlock more about this quest to carry it forward. That's what I'm looking for. Because if you take that all away, and you've got the exploration, you've got the community, right? Two compelling things, definitely great. But there'll be a point in time where I'll just say, you know, this is just like any other game. This is like just any other game out there. Any other game where I can explore and I can do this and I can do that. My time would drastically shrink. You know, the playtime, the intriguing, because there'll be a point where I've seen it all and that's it. I have to wait for the next expansion. Why do I want to invest money for an expansion just to go and see some more? There's nothing for me compelling. There's no challenge for me. There's nothing. Okay, I can go and get some cool armor and everything, but it's a rinse and repeat. It becomes a rinse and repeat of you know, previous MMOs.
As bad as it sounds, we players, we do need that carrot on a stick. Because if you don't give us that carrot on a stick, someone else will.
Yeah.
It's just the way the market is. It's so saturated that if you're not willing to do it, someone else is.
Yeah. Everybody needs that that little item to chase after. Everybody needs that something to compel them forward, and you can tie that within a story. And I do feel that people will enjoy exploration up to a point. And then you'll see an MMO leak players like it's going out of fashion because there's nothing more for people to do. Yeah, running around and killing stuff is fun for a period, but without anything to compel you forward, without a goal to try and achieve within the game, you're wasting your time.
I mean, Jopper basically nailed it last year when he talked a bit more about the perception and how that all works. You know, basically, Josh starts a perception quest. He carries on. He's now in the third stage of this perception quest. He now meets Lexa. Lexa can jump in, join him, and carry on with that story, with that perception that he's doing. And then Josh and Lexa go out. They're now at stage 7 of that perception series. I meet up with them. I jump in. It's telling a story. Josh witnessed something that Lex didn't. Josh and Lex witnessed something that I didn't, and we three witnessed something together. You know, that's storytelling, and the outcome's going to be different.
Right. See, a neat idea. I mean, some friends were talking about. There is a major flaw, and I will announce it. But the idea of a quest giver, like a single quest giver, would have possibly dozens of different quests, but he can only hand out like one at a time.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I have chores around my house that have to be done. Well, Josh, you can fix the windows. Yarn, you can rake the leaves. You know, because I only need one person to do it. I don't need 50 people to do it. But the flaw in this is the fact that when you have a new MMO, you have literally hundreds of people flooding newbie zones.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would not work. If you could do it later on down the road, maybe something to look into that would help kind of alter the path of the game, or at least the game's feeling. Because that way it's like, you know, if I grab a quest that is to go rake some dude's leaves, Josh grabs one to go chop wood, there's nothing saying that he can't meet up with me halfway and help me rake the rest of these leaves, and there's nothing saying I can't meet up with him halfway and help him chop wood.
Yeah.
But based upon how much you do to assist would be your reward. I mean, to me, it's common sense. Some people wouldn't like that, and I understand that. You know, why does he get to come in halfway and still get a reward? Yeah. It's like, well, there's a give and take here.
Well, if you look at it, and let's say, for instance, now throughout these stages, there's all different kinds of rewards.
Right.
Some coins, some XP, maybe an item here, an item there. And then Nexus jumps in midway. And now he gets some cool items as well, but he hasn't got the cool, the items before that. So it kind of balances itself out in that sense. And there's nothing stopping anyone from going back and retracing those steps, because that's the thing we don't know about. We don't know how is perception going to work. Yes, we know that perception is there. We know that anybody can jump in at any given time and join in, even if he doesn't have the previous steps and everything. But how does that work with the previous steps? Can somebody go back and backtrack that? Or is there a different approach to it? Does something different happen? Because we all know that to some point perception is going to be dynamic. It's going to be race driven. It's going to be class driven. It's going to be experience driven.
It's going to be one of those things that not everybody's going to get it.
Yep.
Just by walking the same path.
Exactly. So,
or at least we hope.
So there's definitely room for them to kind of think of ways to, let's say, for instance, now Josh jumps in at Act 3, and Lex has done Act 1 and 2, and they now go off together. Maybe at some later point in time, you're offered an alternative to go a different path, Lex.
Mm-hmm.
To go and do Act 1 or 2 of something different. It's similar. It might lead to a similar reward or similar rewards, but it's a different act for you. So it kind of balances that out. So go on.
See, I got like the programmer part of me going, and it's almost like every stage of a quest has multiple results, not necessarily rewards, multiple results. Because well, just use the housework. Because it's easy to understand. I finished raking leaves. Josh helped me. Well, I've been helping him do chores for the last few days, meaning a few quests already. Maybe he's got something that he's willing to trust me with now, whereas he wouldn't with Josh, and he could send him to do something else that's, worthy of that level of trust. Even though we both technically completed the same quest.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of you brought it up. But I think it was you, Josh, or Lex. Anyway, the idea of quests being... That was you, Josh, where you said basically a quest is only given to you when you have a full group, for instance.
Yeah.
You could do that similar with what Lex had just said with the perception system. You're on your own. You have perception. You now get that outcome. Alone, taking on that perception quest, off you go. You're 2 people in a group. That's now a slightly different option. And now you're 3 people in a group. So you basically bring it in stages. You have a single player, you have a small group, you have a full group. That's 3 different outcomes. They lead to the same goal in the end, but their paths are different, slightly. That's a way maybe they could do something like that to bring more involvement, more compelling storytelling to it, and offer people a broader choice without having to bang in a lot of quests. Because, let's be honest, these FedEx quests, okay, one here and there, perfectly fine. I can understand I have to deliver a note from one city to the other because there's a major war going. They're all afraid to go and travel the lands.
As long as it makes sense.
Exactly.
And it's not just...
Exactly.
Hand me that pencil.
But
yeah, exactly. Kill 10 rats in my basement.
Don't get me wrong, I love questing. EverQuest had... it's EverQuest. It was EverQuesting, okay? They had tons of quests in there. But if you look at the majority of the ones that really counted, there's a handful. Heritage quests, signature quests, epic quests. Those are the ones that I want to see, and I want to see them matter. I want to see me have to, sweat
and all
bleed.
Those very special quests were actually more difficult to do.
Yeah.
You did them up level.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just a question for everybody out there that's listening. What's the worst quest that ever been given to you in one of these MMOs? Pop it into
World
the
of
chat
Warcraft,
there so we
Burning
can see.
Crusade. I had to dig through boar crap.
Well, the worst quests I've ever had is you have the NPC standing in front of you. You get a quest, and it says, pick up that bowl behind you. Dude, you're standing right there.
No. What about those quests where you talk to the NPC, and when you're done talking with them, it finishes, and then you talk to them again? It's like, what the hell?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
You couldn't have just bundled them up and, saved me a couple mouse clicks and a lot of reading? And to be honest, most time it's like, oh, give me a second to think. Oh, here, do the next thing. It's just like, why don't you just say, here, do the next thing?
Yeah,
it's extra work that they did that did not matter at all.
But
it's as if they wrote a story and basically said, how do we get 5 quests out of this one sentence that we just created? Cut it up into bits.
Would you guys prefer quests that might take you a year to do, that might take you a bit of a challenge to kind of unlock the puzzles that are unraveling in front of you, or have quests that maybe exceed expansions, that go over into expansions? So for instance, you take on this quest in Pantheon, you're in your mid-30s, you've taken on this quest. Now 5 years down the road, after expansion 3's come out, the quest finally carries on. Would you find something like that intriguing or annoying?
I'll let Josh go first.
Well, for me, I think that is very compelling. I think that I would love to have a quest that has an overarching period over a year, 2, 3 years, or whatever the case may be, that you build up with it, because that means you are building towards something great, and you know that you're going to get something amazing at the end of it, you hope, ultimately. But it's through years and years of hard work that you actually get to your end goal. Another area that I think would be great as well is that if they had your race-driven story quests as well, where that is also built up over a period of time, where you're looking at your heritage, how that actually affects your way forward within this world, which is great for Terminus, because these are races that have just been plonked down over here over time and haven't really settled here for whatever reason. And this is their way forward.
Yeah, I just want to quickly butt in there, Josh, real quick. That's the thing that always kind of baffled me is, I get it. You've got to, a game's designed a certain way. It has to function a certain way, especially in MMO. But that's something I've always missed is when I log into the game. How did I get there? What am I? Where am I from? What's my role in this world? Was never really told to me. There was no real explanation as to why am I here. Well, you're here,
very existential.
You're just there to exist. We know that Pantheon is all about making your own adventure, making your own story, becoming your own hero. That's all well and good, but there's still certain things that will come to my mind where I would question a game if I'm not satisfied with the storytelling. Like for instance, I'm there to make my own adventure, become my own kind of hero. But where am I from? What's my background? Things that are hidden.
What are my goals?
Yeah, things that are hidden in the lore of my character's race, of the world maybe itself, from wherever my starting city may be. Because those are things that come into consideration as well. Those are the things that sometimes get overseen. It's not just your race and your class that plays a major role. It's your city, where your city is, what kind of environment is there. That can also build into the story. They can utilize the environment and bring up something compelling towards it. It doesn't necessarily have to always be 3-dimensional. Think 4-dimensional. that's how they should look at these things, to kind of ease themselves. And VR are doing a great job at this so far. You know, they are really trying to tell a story, get people involved, and, you know, leave themselves enough room to kind of look at options that they could possibly go with certain things. Certain perception quests, or, you know, that image from Black Rose Keep where it looked like a moon but it was a planet, for instance, you know, where we talked to Joppa and we said, hey, you know, we noticed that there was, you know, this big massive, could that be a planet? He didn't elaborate on what that would possibly be, but, you know, he left enough there for people to think and go, and that's what we really really need, especially in these games nowadays, because you know, I'm almost 40 now, right? I'm past the having to be all and you know, be at the top and be really super competitive. You know, I've got a family, kids, and everything. You know, I want to enjoy my game. You just
want to be able to stand up to go to the bathroom.
Almost, yes. or not sit here, start the show and go, hang on a minute, guys, we're going to be late because I need to go and
change his adult diaper.
You know, that's the thing. Another thing that I'm trying to... I'll let you jump in now, Josh, Lex, while I think back. I had an idea. I'm going to try and bring it back to my mind that I want to bring up to you guys as well, which I think would be pretty cool. I'm going to think about it.
Take your dimension medicine, Grandpa. It'll help.
Hey, Lexa, welcome to the light, buddy. Welcome to the light.
I can't see the light if my eyes are closed. You know, with the exception of saying 1 year to do a quest is a little long for me. 3 months tops. Even all my epic quests and EverQuest 1, it was like 3 months done. I would have to say both, because I'll use your epic weapon as an example.
Yeah,
you bust some hump to get that thing. You pull raids together. Yeah. You pull in favors. You camp for hours. Just one spawn, you know, to get this thing. And I view that as you're taking something that has a legacy of its own, your epic weapon, bringing it into your own legacy. So now that it is part of your legacy, an expansion comes out, and now that legacy is discarded. Bring it into an expansion means you're continuing that legacy, whether it be a simple reforging or a quest line that helps now add something to it, or maybe even a quest line where your epic weapon gets destroyed and you have to find a way to create it again. You know, There's got to be something, because, you know, this is an epic quest.
Yeah.
And it's epic for 3 months, and then after that, it's on. And honestly, in EverQuest, most epics were reduced to offhands because they just wanted the effect, because it was a unique effect. So that's it. It was, other than that, it was worthless.
So I got it back into my head, right? So what about this idea for storytelling, right? Adding this to the quest step. So basically, this whole discussion is about storytelling, and, you know, and the importance of it, and, you know, what would a MMO be without. And also, you know, this relates to quests as well. You know, a lot of people are fed up or would like to see lesser quests. We agree with that. We would like to see more compelling quests and everything, just to bring everybody back up to speed. So my idea now for this, I don't know, you know, what developers was. They must chop my head off if I bring this up now. But I talked about 4D, right? Now let's go 4D with quests. You take on a quest. Now, in the region that you're meant to be in, there's a major storm. There's rain showers, thunderstorms, and it's a turf moor. It's a swamp area. So now you basically can't do this quest, carry it on, because of the weather affecting you, the movement. You can't move in there. You're being affected by this. The same goes with having certain events that might happen in a town, a city, or a region with NPCs battling off each other, for instance. You might not be able to finish this quest because there's a change in rain, there's a change in power, or these NPCs have moved on, which basically would automatically drag out the longevity of your quest, because you know it's technically chained to a static storyline, but because of the environment itself, you know, and this is where I'm going to point to VR. They want PvE to be player versus environment completely. You know, the environment is going to be engaging, and I think that this would also help them achieve that even more and bring a more even compelling game. They would set the bar a little higher, and I think this would also help with the livelihood of the game for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say to even a story that ultimately introduced a new player character within the next expansion, where it gets built over a period and you have freed this one race that now you can choose to play it going forward.
Like hints or indications, you know, throughout you go out through the game, you go into a dungeon, and all of a sudden there's this weird looking NPC that has never been there before. And he drops a note, or he drops some weird mystical magical paper that only a magician can unlock or read or whatever. So you go to the magician of your choice. It could be either a player who's skilled enough, or it's somebody in the town of your choice, you know. And he now casts a spell on this, and it starts telling you a story about this seems to be an ancient race that once thrived here on Terminus before the Deicide War, and blah 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 blah, and you're like, whoa! And this kind of leads on, so unlocking puzzles and stuff. You know, that would be great to see happen, because I don't need to always. I mean, I do love finishing my quests. Don't get me wrong. The problem that we have is, in most MMOs, the time you've finished your quest, you've out-leveled it by 10 levels already.
Yeah.
So it kind of drags to the back.
Go after some set gear or something, and
useless.
Find a way where the quest level doesn't really affect you as a character, regardless of your personal level. That's the challenge.
Yeah.
How to make a quest with a decent livelihood still be relevant down the line, you know, because if you have, and that's where this comes into play, where lesser quests, more challenging, more options available, more corners that could basically lead you, and like a labyrinth, lead you all kinds of different places. That's what it comes down to. Lesser quests, because if there's tons of quests in there, I'm the kind of person that has to do everything. I have to do every starting area that I possibly can. I have to do every single quest that I possibly can. But then there come a point in time where I've got like 150 quests in my log. I look, the ones that are intriguing to me, you know, signature, this, that, and the other, I'll keep them. I'll still do those. But all the other quests, I'll start chugging them out, because, hey, it's grey for me. It's 20 levels below me.
The minute a quest goes trivial, I don't care if I'm even half done it.
Yep.
It's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the reward as well is useless.
Yeah, because it's going to be replaced with another one, and it's probably going to be, you know, it's a 50-50 shot that it's going to be just as compelling as this one that I found that I never read. You know,
exactly.
So
because you know, I would rather be intrigued by the story that they're telling with lesser quests than tons of quests that are occupying my mind and kind of just entertaining me without any real involvement. If we look at EverQuest 2, for instance, Josh, half of those quests you could toss out there. They wouldn't affect the game itself. They wouldn't affect. You know, you wouldn't miss them because they don't have any point in the game. They're just there as a time sink because they're out of ideas. You know, the technology is at its limits. The writers are at their limits, and that's where, you know, a combined community nowadays with development, the way developers are going about their games with early access and, you know, pre-alphas and this and that. There's a combined force here that could be utilized.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me as well, is I think it's extremely lazy from an MMO where you feel like the story just guides you on rails from one quest hub to the next, to get you from one area to the next, and just draw you to that level 50 area ultimately.
Yeah, it's like you'll do 10 quests here, and all of a sudden like, go to this zone, to this camp, and talk to so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then you do, and they're like, oh, now you've got 10 quests to do here now. And then when you're done those, talk to this guy over here.
So lazy. So lazy. Rather say to me, you have to, in order for us to get this next bit of information, you need to go and speak to this hermit in the hills, to the south or something like that. And there you have to go through your own guile and with your group, fight to get to that point where you can go speak to somebody over there that's going to give you more information.
I will say one thing though, to what you, Lex, and Josh just said, that counteracts. The only thing good about getting led from one town to the other, from one zone to the other, is the storytelling portion. From the game perspective,
not even that.
You are basically getting to, look at Terror Rising, for instance.
Do I have to?
Their main story, for instance, you get basically led from camp to camp, from town to town, and you go through up to the latter stages of level 40. That's when it starts to divide a bit. But I'm satisfied though with the lore of the game, the story that I'm being told, how my interactions have affected the world because of the way they approached it. That's the only good thing about that, but there has to be a way to do it differently where you do not get set on a path to go from A town to the B town to the C town. That's the challenge.
I'm going to disagree just a little bit, because I think the only good thing about quests being on rails is that for people who have limited time, they're great. Absolutely perfect, because you get in, you get that feeling of accomplishment right away, because you got 10 quests done because they're all here ready to go. Hell, you probably picked them all up at the same time anyway.
You kind of misunderstood me there. I'm not talking about the quest perspective. No.
I know. I just said. Being on rails, that's the only good thing that I can see. I mean, it does make sense that being on rails, you do tell a specific story to get players to a point to where they can branch off. That is, but I feel there is definitely other ways to do that.
Yep.
So I'm not counting that. I'm not going to count that as a positive for quests on rails. So that leaves just the time efficiency for those who don't have a lot.
Yeah, for exactly that. It's a timing thing. I mean, yes, telling a story can be done as well without having to guide people on rails to get from story point A to story point B to story point C. There's definite ways that a game can actually make people feel like there is a story if they don't go just from A, B, and C, that they do actually find that. I'm sure there is a way for them to program things like that.
I mean, it's no different than setting up a quest. Basically, where you would release, and the developers would have full control over this. They could release the information that they want to give us whenever they want to, whenever they feel like, so, and you're engaging in the game, going through dungeons, doing raids, doing this, exploring, doing crafting, diplomacy, you're taking in world events, and now you're learning about yourself, your character, your race, you're learning about maybe a different town, your neighboring city, your neighbors, and this is stuff that they could basically throw at us. And in episodes, in little adventures, these could be things that they could throw in a hotfix, or as a game update, or as an expansion. Hey, there are definitely ways to do this, and that would keep me in the game. I'll be honest with you, that would keep me in the game if there wasn't any quests, because I'm being told the story of the game, because I want to know that. Speaking
of other ways to do things, I mean, none of us here are game developers.
No,
right? But just sitting here, I've already come up with another way to get a story that's on rails seem like it's not on rails. You get that usual hub. You get done. They tell you to talk to so-and-so in the rocky fields. You're running there, and an NPC runs up to you and basically gives you a quest that is story-driven and compelling to drag you away from it. But here's the thing. That last person at the quest hub was actually a misdirect. They just sent you to interact with that NPC. They weren't actually sending you to the rocky fields. So you're still on rails, but you feel like you got sidetracked. Although technically you haven't. Yeah. You're still on the rail. You're just like, you just went from here and did a 90 degree.
See, that comes back to the idea. You know, it's kind of similar to what these single player games do. What Rockstar do with GTA, you know, or The Witcher does, or Red Dead Redemption have done. These side missions, these side quests, these strangers that you meet along the way. Those are the things that kind of drag you away. It's all on rails, but your mind is wandering because now you got this wild stranger shouting, "Hey, help me over here! I broke my leg!" and blah blah blah. You go over there, you help him.
It's like a disguised rail.
Yep.
Because the whole point of getting that last quest of that quest hub was just to send you in this direction and to send you northwest. That's all its purpose was. Even though it tells you to go to this place to talk to this person.
Those would be the redundant quests that I would like to see. You know, quests that aren't there in mass because of the usability to give people experience, to get them into the game, to give them something to do before you get the next expansion out, because time is cutting short and you're sweating in the office trying to get this expansion done, so you're banging quest after quest that's FedEx. That's the way to do it, though. Have these quests feel somewhat dynamic, where you get dragged away from what you're actually doing.
Right. And what you're told is not what you expect. Yeah. But it's not so off to the left field to where you really don't know what the heck is going on anymore.
Yeah.
You get that sense that, I got sidetracked. But then it's like, well, that's fine because I had fun. It was a great story.
Yep.
Where was I supposed to go again? Because suddenly the quest is gone because the guy who ran up to you was the guy you were supposed to talk to anyway. So I think when you see games that do the hub rails, it's basically developers screaming, "I'm lazy.
Yeah,
I don't care about you enough to give you a good experience."
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. But then again, I also feel the same way about daily quests. I feel if you have to rely on daily quests and you are just effing lazy as anything, and someone needs to hit you with something very, very heavy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. That's one thing I really despise.
My opinion,
were daily quests, because they were either faction grinds or ways to kind of notch you to the end of the elite status of becoming max level, or a time sink because they have no other ideas or they have no other content to give you yet to keep you appeased, to keep you in the game.
Right.
And it's lazy and it's disrespectful.
It's a very desperate move, I feel.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. But
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, VR. If I see a daily quest, I'm just going to flip my lid.
Yeah.
Yep.
People think it was bad when I flipped my lid about the scar. They ain't seen nothing until I see a daily.
Yeah, that's definitely
I can
something.
live with what's there for the scar. I can't live with dailies again.
If they do have a compelling story or some kind of build up, I mean, they do. There's stories. You've got the lore about the races. You've got the lore about Terminus. You've got the lore about the world itself.
You've got a lot of stuff to draw on.
There's a lot there,
so much.
And believe it or not, it's something that a lot of people would like to know, and that's where they should kind of draw their inspiration from, rather than banging in tons of quests to help kind of fill the void and notch on the story. Bring the story to us and let us actually engage in the story as we live it and breathe it when we log in and play the game day in, day out. Because, like we said, this is a decade in investment. I'm going to invest at least a decade. I'm not a MMO hopper. I stick to one MMO at a time. And I'm going to tell you guys, there's only been 2 MMOs that I have played exclusively. That's EverQuest 2, and if you want to call it an MMO, it's Landmark. And I spent years in those games and played nothing else, and that's what I would love to do with Pantheon. Now, I want to be in there for years. I don't have the time or the lust to go and invest in, hey, the next MMO's coming out, the next great thing's coming out, and put down a major investment there and get my kicks in as soon as I can. No, I'm here for Pantheon. I want to play it for a long, long time. That's how invested I want to be in an MMO again.
Every MMO that every game that hits out always claims to be the next best thing. You know. And the sad part is, and I'm saying this to Pantheon too, I'm not playing favorites here, but if you're going to say it, for the love of God, prove it.
Yeah, deliver it.
We've been sitting here for 15 years hearing this stuff, and no one's proved it.
Yep. And, you know, they're very cautious, and they're very smart at what they're doing so far. You know, they haven't made any major upsets whatsoever. So far, everything for me, on my personal opinion, has been on the positive. There are some minor things, like the Scar model, for instance, like Lexa mentioned. But those aren't things that are going to be interrupting my choices for playing the game so much. You know, it's what's inside the game, that's, you know, my interactions inside. That's where it comes down to, am I going to be playing this game when it comes out? Because they made so many changes, and if I look at their tenants and their Pantheon differences, what makes them different to other MMOs, if half of that's gone, eluded, guess what?
Right. The funny thing is that I mentioned I don't enjoy the new Scar. I don't make that a secret. Will I still play a Scar? Yes, I will. And here's why. Because the story appeals to me.
Yep.
And the same can be said about quests. If the story appeals to me, I will do it. If the story doesn't appeal to me, I won't read it. I likely won't read the one that comes after it. And unless the rewards are worth it, I'm not doing it. Period.
And that's another thing as well to help with this whole situation. And we've talked about this already. You know, we've brought this up. Give us choices when it comes to rewards. Let us choose and be smart about the rewards. If I pick up a quest from an old farmer's lady, okay, and she gives me 50 gold coins after I've completed the quest, I'm going to question the reality of this. Because this old lady is not going to, and who owns a farm and is, you know, outside in the poverty area of the world, shouldn't have 50 gold coins to give. She should have maybe some baked bread that she could give me, that she basically baked herself, or maybe some harvesting materials, or maybe some rusty old sword that she has in her heritage, that she, you know, from her great-grandfather or something, that turns out to be a valuable item if I inspect it further, or if my perception kicks in. Those are the things, those are the choices that they should do. They should offer us multiple reward choices, cash, money, this, that, and the other.
See,
and what about making rewards that are unique to your race itself?
Definitely.
So
I would
a race has a unique slot for everyone. So you, as being aquatic, might have something aquatic-like that you pick up in a unique area type of thing. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry, let's go.
I've been an advocate of, if something is going to be done or happen, it needs to be meaningful. And this goes with quests. Like, if it's a quest reward, if you're giving me a dagger, there's got to be something special about the dagger. Obviously, I don't need to be level 1 getting a crazy magical dagger.
Fiery adventure!
Into death, you know, obviously. At the low levels, a rusty dagger is a rusty dagger because it's probably better than what you got. But when you get up there in the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, if they hand you a dagger, there should be something special about it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily a combat kind of something to it, it could just be a lore thing. Like, it could be, oh, this is the dagger that killed so and so, You can put it on the wall in your guild hall. It's like, okay, it's special.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see, another thing as well that would help is cliffhangers for storytelling. If they would engage us into their story, the development story of the game, if we can get involved in there somehow, leaving cliffhangers, that's how they could go about basically with having quests be over a longer period of time. So not 3 months, but maybe a year, by leaving cliffhangers that make you go, I need to know more. And if we look at Black Rose Keep, we know there's level dimensions in there, from level 8 to level 35 or what it was. Now, if there's quests in that, let's go with stories. I'm fed up with quests. There's stories in there to be told. Then I expect to be left with a cliffhanger. When I go in there with my group, with Josh, Lex, Shy, myself, and whoever else is with us, and we take on this story, and we can't, and we complete this story, we get left with a cliffhanger for coming back when we're level 18 or level 22 or level 30. Make me want to come back there as well. Leave me with a cliffhanger that keeps me intrigued. That's another thing that basically has always been a lackbuster. Is you get this quest series, this signature quest series, and they plumply end step for step for step, making them become redundant after they become trivial. Yeah, making you want to throw them away. And that goes for the normal quests as well. For me to carry on doing the normal quests, even though they kind of turn trivial, obviously I have to find ways to kind of eliminate that, but it's to leave cliffhangers.
Right.
Not every quest has to lead to a new quest. Maybe, like Lexa said, I'm given additionally this rusty sword. Now, while I'm wandering through town, or as soon as I hit town to go and sell it, maybe there's a hint of something. Maybe the sword starts to feel heavy on my upper leg, on my thigh. It feels really heavy all of a sudden, or it's starting to burn. Indication that oh something's going on. That's my cliffhanger right there. Those are the kind of things I think would basically drift away from having to put in tons of quests and kind of bring, because they're talking about creating a world. Then create that world, please.
Mm-hmm. Give me a world I really want to be in, not a world that I'm just killing time in.
And I agree with Dayot 100%. I do not need to have experience every time I complete a quest.
No. Sometimes the experience itself is worth it.
They should basically shift away from giving experience for quests, and the experience you gain is through your combat, your exploration, for unlocking or running by points of interest. Give me experience for something like that. Minor experience for finding this hidden cave passage, finding this old bell tower. Give me experience for slaying beasts, for fighting. Give me experience for identifying the wildlife in that zone. Right. But for the love of God, stop giving me tons of experience for a quest.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, the experience of performing the quest could be the experience reward.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of confusing. Not getting character experience, but getting an experience that you can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a little clearer. And I mean, as a real simple example, you go on a quest, you got to go to an old cemetery or something, you fight some undead, yada, yada, yada. But the whole point of it was to, put flowers on someone's grave. And then you go, wait a minute, look at the grave, and it says, Eridune stepped on a fiery sword. Well, right there, your experience just became unique. You weren't just in some cemetery killing skeletons. You're in a cemetery killing skeletons, and you found Eridune's tombstone, and oh my god, it was funny.
Yep.
So there, even if the NPC gives me experience for completing that quest, I probably care more about what I had done and what I had seemingly discovered than what he actually gave me. And with the problem of a lot of developers now saying, like, they just can't create content fast enough, maybe stop handing out experience every time a player puts his boots on.
Yep. Take the time, look at your game and see what the causes are for you guys running out of time and having to, because that's another thing as well. Banging out an expansion. I mean, we know that every November an expansion's coming out for a certain game. In every January, expansion comes out for a certain game. And when you're kind of in the know for this, it kind of puts you under pressure. It kind of burns you out. It kind of upsets you. I got so frustrated looking back at my 12 years of EverQuest 2. I was thinking, the amount of money and sweat and time I put into that game for rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, it really frustrated the hell out of me because everything was on a time schedule. An expansion's coming out. I used to be competitive. I wanted to be one of the first to max level. I wanted to be one of the first to experience the whole new content. I'm now at a point where I do not need to do that. I want to be engaged in the game. I want to be able to sit in a tavern with Josh and Lex and Shy at the end of a session and play some card game in there maybe. And, still be in the game, but not wanting to necessarily engage in the game like going into a dungeon. But I still want to be with my friends and do something.
Yeah.
But, nothing major. Those are the things that, will keep me in the game. If they had stuff like that.
With Pantheon being more of a niche title, it has a very specific target audience, and if it appeals to anyone outside of that, it's a bonus to them, which is a very good attitude to have, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those that they're targeting are less about playing a game now. A lot of us has come around to, like myself, I want to have an experience. I want to stop jumping ship every 4 months to when a new game comes out or when a new expansion and another game I got tired of comes out. In some vain attempt to grasp at a meaningful experience in these games with people.
Yep.
If I get that from Pantheon, it's like, I think that's going to be the biggest shocker that a lot of people are going to have, that you can play a game and have fun and meaningful experiences with others in the community, not necessarily friends, but even strangers that end up becoming friends. When you look at it that way, while quests are certainly a mechanism for getting people together, it's going to be up to VR to make quests into just that, rather than just being a poorly written vending machine.
No, I like the idea that's been brought up. Have completing a quest, have the NPC talk about a random player that just completed it and a nod to how that helped or how they helped. Now, not exactly that. I mean, it's a good idea, but I went one further with this. This is something that has already been picked up by other games. When people go and bring word after word after word after word to this NPC that's asking us to bring word, I expect to see some kind of woodpile start to build.
I was gonna say, if you say I want to see this NPC have wood, I was gonna lose it.
Basically, that's the kind of thing I would like to see. Bring this. This is obviously it's not a must. It's not a must-have. It would be cool.
No, that's one of those little things that counts for a lot to a lot of people.
But this goes also.
It doesn't really do anything. You're just like, makes sense.
It goes to the sentence that or what Brad wants to do here. It goes to about creating a world, because maybe that wood that's gathered is used to upgrade the city at one point, or. Is used
Burn down Wild's End,
or is used to have maybe they have a special event going. Maybe this NPC only offers this quest when they do a bonfire.
Burning Man.
Yep.
So yeah, Anyway,
so we're going to call it Burning Elf.
Yep, definitely crazy stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
So there is definitely an importance to storytelling in MMOs. I feel personally, because to be honest, if there wasn't any real story behind it, I could explore and I could basically and I have a cool community or a cool bunch of friends to play it with. It would become a game that I periodically play when we have the time. It's like, with Ghost Recon Wildlands, big massive open world. Great fun to play together as 4 people, but it's a game that you do not play day in, day out, because it's rinse and repeat. There's nothing really different to do, and that's what kind of would happen to an MMO. It would be no different to any other MMO. It's like with the action RPGs, Grim Dawn, this, that, and the other. They all have their little anecdotes that make their games good, but at the end of the day, they're all the same. Why would I invest money into this or into that one or into that? Why would I go out and spend hundreds of dollars on these games when I've already got this one game and it's no different than the other?
To be honest, games right now are like bicycles. One's blue, one's red, one's got thicker tires, one's got thinner tires, one's got a bell, one's got tassels. It's like, but in the end, it's still a bike.
And this is why games like The Witcher broke records. This is why games like GTA 5 or now the new Red Dead Redemption broke yet again new records. 750 million units sold already is what I read, or something like that. That's insane.
Yep, that's true.
Because of the detail and the passion they put behind
and the story behind it.
The story behind the game, the involvement as you as a player. Yeah. That's what it comes.
One thing you got to be careful though, especially with MMOs, is that what do you do when your story's over? Because the game doesn't end.
No, it doesn't. That's the trickiest part.
That's where SWTOR ran into major issues. When the story was done, the game kind of was like,
well,
what next?
The thing is though, that's the error of the community and to some part developers catering to the endgame content. There is no endgame content in an MMO, period. There shouldn't be endgame content in an MMO. There shouldn't be the goal to start off level 1 and race to max level as soon as possible to do the raid content, the top tier content. That is not the reason for playing an MMO. It's a massively multiplayer online world. I want to be online in that world for at least 10 years. So why make it so that people rush to the end and the content, the really compelling content, the good content only comes to the end? That's the mistake that a lot of these companies are doing now, because they cater to this attitude, this generation that we have, and that's the thing that VR also despise. They despise the word endgame content in MMO because it's been taken out of context. And it has seriously been taken out of context, and they need to bring back what it's all about. 10 years we're going to be playing this game. I don't want to be done with... Hopefully, exactly. I don't want to be done with Pantheon the day it comes out, be max level in 3 weeks or 3 months. I want it to take its time. And I want it to be also engaged. And, when the story ends, where do you go from there? That's where it comes down to a lot of the ideas that we threw in today. There's lots of ways to kind of combat you're coming towards an end. What do? We have to there is really no end. We have to carry on somehow, but we haven't quite finished it. There's ways to do this to intrigue us. Don't throw everything at us from the get-go. Make some things unlockable that you have to unlock that haven't,
I mean, it could be a thing where you plan for the release of your game to be there for, we'll say, 3 months. Well, plan a couple big events, like 2 weeks or so, maybe even 3 weeks between each other, before you even announce the expansion.
I mean,
you can really spread that content out because people know something's coming. We don't know what. I need to be here when it happens.
And you can use that as a trope to bed the next story.
And there can be ends. There can be endgame content to each game, the base game, the next expansion, because there's obviously a story to tell. There's some big badass dragon, or there's some evil demons that you have to conquer. But if I haven't conquered them by the time that next expansion's come out, I haven't reached the endgame yet. The story, I haven't completed it yet. It carries on. I go and kill that. You know, and those are things that they... What about basically taking the single player aspect of a game with the storytelling, where you might have multiple outcomes based on the decisions you made throughout the game. Now, you can technically see that, you know, there's technically an expansion coming out. You can maybe go over there and see some stuff, but you can't do anything really or start the new story until you've completed maybe the base story first. You know, what about doing something like that? Just crazy out of the head. You know, it's an MMO, yes, technically a new expansion comes out, you reach max level, you want to carry on do the next stuff. But, you know, for a group-centric game, where their core focus is group-centric, having us complete the story before we can carry on with the next major story.
Yeah.
What about something crazy like that?
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Right now I'm just kind of stuck on the whole... Get people to the end of the current content, do events, then extend the content. Because it could be a story, a transitional story through these events.
Yeah.
And it's a way for like the staff to interact with the community as well. Even if they're just running, even if it's just a GM who makes himself 300 feet tall and just starts whacking away at people, you know? It's one of those things where, you know, eventually someone's gonna kill him, as long as he's not invincible, because otherwise that's just crappy.
Or maybe make that. Lex, sorry for jumping in though.
No.
Maybe make that something like a global event. That big ass end major dragon that you have to slay is a global event, and if that's conquered, you know, that's the end thing. It's one massive huge raid. You know, it's a dragon that has an X amount of XP or whatever. You go and get everybody, because some raid force has finally reached the end step of that perception quest or that story, and now the dragon's there. Now it's going to come up to us to defeat that dragon. If we don't defeat that dragon, what happens? Well, basically, the dragon flies off to a different location, a hidden location or something. Now the next raid force or the next guild or the next group that goes in has to try and find a way to unlock this dragon again, and then we try again. You know, that would also be a compelling way and a cool thing to do, is turn it into a global fashion where the story only ends for this part of the series when that dragon's been conquered, and it's a global event.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because now I'm on the mindset of the day that I realized that EverQuest 1 was different than everybody else was when there was a GM event. Here was a GM whose primary goal was just to help solve tickets or petitions. You know, creating monsters that are swarming a zone, and we're just like, oh my god, you got low level, high level, and then mobs, just so that high level people and low level people could be in the same area and do stuff. And the GM was actually going rezzing people and buffing them and helping them out a little bit. But in the end, they didn't make that big of an impact. But the event itself was like, here's somebody who's a staff member basically doing the job and was like, hey, I'm going to do something fun. Yeah. And from that day forward, whenever we saw that GM, whenever someone was giving them a hard time, the community shot that person down.
Yeah. Because
the GM was now our buddy. Not literally, but that's how it felt. You know, you had a bond with this GM. And when something really bad happens, so you get stuck in a death loop because of this event, and I mean, it did happen to me, I wasn't upset because that GM is the one that answered my petition.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked and awed, you know, kind of like yarn when Brad's within 100 miles. But
starstruck, my friend, starstruck.
Right. I was incredibly polite because I felt connected to this GM.
Yeah.
Like, and these GM events to transition between story or quest content, there's no downside here. There's none, really.
And one thing also to bring in, what we talked about as well, is if you do have expansions come out that are connected to the base game, tell the story as well from the base game and the expansion, because the base game obviously affects the expansion obviously affects the base game. So there should be something new happening there as well. That's how you keep people engaged. That's how you keep the older zones lived in with, you know, older, higher level characters mixing with the young, the new people coming in. That's how you keep your game alive, by not just looking always forward. Look at how the the next expansion comes out. This ash breathing massive dragon that has laid waste to the new lands that have come out in this expansion. Might not stop there. He might travel over to the base game or become a threat to the base game as well there, and start causing havoc there if we're not careful. So have that also affect us in the base game. Right. That's how you tell a story and keep it alive. That's how you make a world. And these aren't things that have to be done on the fly constantly. These are things that can happen periodically. They can happen whenever you guys want to do it. As long as we see minor changes here and there to the story, from the game's perspective, not from our story that we're creating, from the storytelling that you are telling us, that will keep us engaged. That will keep people. Those are things that I want to look back on. I want to look back on and say, Josh, guess what? Dude, you went on holiday for 4 weeks. You missed a major cool thing happen. Dude, it was epic. You're going to be like, oh, I wish I was there. And then I'm going to be away at some point and miss something, and you're going to tell me about a cool event that happened, or something like that. Because I come back, the world to me looks the same. But in that time period, me being away, you conquered a ice giant, threw the king from Thronefast off his throne, and took over for a week. Whoa, dude, really? That's cool.
See, what's kind of funny is I know we're starting to kind of run to our limit here.
Yep.
And at a risk of throwing us on another tangent, I never really understood why MMOs or game studios that do MMOs don't employ the fans. You could have contests to write quests, because you can have one staff member running multiple contests, and you're still not spending as much time as these people are creating the quest for you. And you can pick the top 3, you know? And because honestly, most fans that write fan fiction, I mean, there's some that need improvement. I mean, there's a lot that need improvement. There are some that are just diamonds in the rough, where you look at them, and even to an untrained person like myself, I can read it and go, with a little bit of help, this could be just wonderful.
And it's easy to do. It's easy to get over the legal requirements and everything, the legal battle. And how many people that are watching this right now would love to have actually have the ability to say, I've written a quest in a game. Dude, Lex, it's the same with what Landmark did with the contest, building content for EverQuest Next. Right. I dig that shit. I loved it when I had my Takish sewers as a winner, a major winner for Landmark, for the Kanos sewage. I was out of this world, knowing that when that game comes out and people go into that game and they go into that sewer, it's my sewer that I built. Right. There's a plaque on there saying Yanila built this. I ain't getting money for it. I don't need royalties. I'm happy. That's the same what they could do there with quests
I wasn't a fan of Landmark. I tried it. I didn't like it. But I mean, it adds a connection, and it's a smart move to involve your fans. I mean, VR, seriously, if you were to write a quest contest,
a story contest
or just a small 2-step quest line, provide us with dialogue, a brief description of what they're doing. I'm not confident in my writing. I'd try.
Oh yeah,
and I'm pretty sure I would encourage anybody, even if you don't think you're a writer, because I don't think I'm a writer at all. I would encourage you to at least try, because what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah,
nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, those are the things. Engage, involve your community. Not everybody's going to sit there going, hey, because these are my ideas, or this is, you took an idea, or you took a story from me, etc. Not everybody's going to shout royalties.
No.
There's contract
honestly,
agreements.
to most people, you put the name in the credits.
Exactly. Boom. Hey, guess what? He'd exaggerate telling his friends, maybe, that, hey, guess what? I was involved in the development of such and such MMO. See here, my name's in the credits. I had a major part to play. Let him do that. Let him run his mouth and have that 5 minutes of fame. He's happy. You got a lot out of it. It's a way to save money, get new ideas, get fresh ideas in, get perspectives from a fan's view of what they would like to see or how they would go about it. Because that's the thing. We ain't developers. We don't see what you guys do. But if we kind of had discussions like this with developers, back and forth and stuff like that, and we got their side of it and we got our side of it, this goes for everybody in chat as well. If we could sit down with developers and talk something like this, talk shop and talk about quest designs, blah 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 blah, we get their perspective, they get our perspective. It would help enormously, because
what would be an amazing PR event?
Go on.
For VR? It could be just out of your VIPs. It could just be out of the community at large. You could pick 2, maybe 3 people to come join a developer meeting.
Yeah.
And make them sign NDAs.
Definitely.
Or just be careful what you talk about. Run so many ideas past them, they have no idea what's actually happening. Whatever. But here you have virtually an unbiased, well, at least for the most case, an unbiased opinion from someone who is planning to use your product. It's just like a focus group for any other product out there. And chances are you're going to create an even stronger bond with that fan. Now, I realize there are more fans than probably developers times meetings you're going to have, But the fact that someone in that position would be willing to do something like that would speak volumes to the gaming community at large.
That's the thing as well, gathering all these ideas. They love the input that we give, the community. That we all give. That's everybody out there. The discussions in the forums. It would also be good to know, though, while you're gathering these ideas on a certain topic, for a certain subject or whatever, if it can't be done, let us know why it can't be done. So that we can maybe look at it from a new perspective and see, well, that's the issue that they ran into. They love the idea. That's the issue they ran into. We can now take a different approach, consider the issues that they have, and see if there's a different way to bring it in.
Right. You see, on the flip side, though, it also shows people that are fans who aren't developers. They gives you a little glimpse of what's actually involved, and then you start to understand that when they decline an idea, there's a reason behind it. Yeah. And although you may not understand, there's usually a pretty good reason.
That's the problem, though. We don't understand it because it's not explained to us.
Right. If it takes time to do that.
Exactly. It takes time to do that, to explain it, but at least try and explain it. If you start a discussion with the community, like for instance, now let's say for instance they go ahead now with the tweet that they put out there. What do you prefer? Open world housing, instant housing, or both? Right? They put that tweet out there. We start voting. We start discussions on the forums. Now, somewhere down the line, because the majority was open world housing. Somewhere down the line, now, all of a sudden, we've got instant housing. Or limited housing, or something like that. And there's no explanation as to why. Because I'm the kind of person that would question that tweet from 2 years ago.
Right.
You asked this question. Why did you ask this question? Why? It's
From the outside looking in, it looks like you got an opinion and disregarded it.
Exactly. You asked for an opinion, but it didn't really matter. The opinion was worthless.
Right.
It was just...
And the thing is, with those little ideas that I had, granted, they might not be good ones, positivity can be like negativity. It can spread.
Yep.
And that's a lot of problem with a lot of game developers right now is they either sit there and let the negativity spread, or they address it, but they don't do it in the correct way, and they make it worse. So they're kind of in this position of, do we do nothing and just deal with the slow smoldering fire, or do we do something and possibly put it out, or turn it into like burning the world down?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's definitely no easy ground to tread on. Anyway,
No,
Josh, I'll let you talk now. Go on, Josh. You're yawning there.
No.
Well, how about this?
Well,
you go straight down somewhere very far south, and I'm not talking Texas. Somewhere much hotter. I'm going to put you on the spot since you're making my life so wonderful today. What if the next time we did a developer interview, we brought in a random person from the community?
Definitely. Why not? I'm down with it.
Good.
So, anyway.
Just
Josh,
put a bunch of people's names in the hat and pull one out.
You got anything to add before I do the closing?
No, I think we've covered a heck of a lot of ground here today. It's been great.
Yep, and we did this again out of the bat. We just knocked it out of the park without any thought behind it.
Again, no script whatsoever, just basically turn the cam on and go. And we've come up with way more ideas.
We came up with a lot of ideas. We brought some really intriguing discussions here today. And we brought even in 2 contests. And I'm going to remind everybody before we finish. So, everybody remembers the Welcome to the Light t-shirt designed by Dayhawk. The contest, the challenge that Alexa gave VR to go and defeat that middle range named in Black Rose Keep fairly and evenly on even ground. They did it. So
I'm still reviewing the footage. I'm pretty sure someone was invisible.
Dayhawk and me kind of, I think Dayhawk led into it, but we kind of came up with the idea of designing a t-shirt for this. He led the charge basically for designing a t-shirt. I turned that into a contest. We're giving one of these away. On the 30th of November is when we will be doing the giveaway for this. So you can win one of these shirts. You can have it in multiple colours. You can have it in multiple sizes. We'll be giving away one of these to some lucky winner here in Twitch chat during the live show. And another contest, which is reversed. We want you to design our facial images in comic style. You know, in I don't know if comic style is the word, the right phrasing.
A cartoon style?
Cartoonish style, the way we look now. Where I'm in the middle, maybe, you know, looking at the audience. I've got Josh coming from my left, looking kind of like an angel, whispering words into my ear. And on the right side of me, I have Alexa, shouting at me, looking like a devil. That's the artwork that we would like you guys to do. Just underneath the shoulders, basically, and the head is all we need. You can. It would be great to have Josh and Lex kind of turned a bit, so it looks like they're from the side, coming at me from the side. That's what we want you guys to do. The details will be put on the website in the next couple of days. This contest will run till the end of the year, and then the middle of January, when we come back from our break, we will announce the winners. We'll have 2 winners for this one. And we're going to give you a multiple choice of rewards that you can choose from.
A hearty handshake or a slap on the back?
No, it will be worth it. So yeah. And just to announce it again, if you want to help support us, you want to have one of these shirts, whatnot, we now have a bit of merchandise to offer. We're still in the works of getting this there. But we've been talking about a merchandise store now for over a year. I was meant to open up the store back in last year, October, but it kept on getting pushed back. There'll be a lot more coming in the next couple of months. And yeah, thanks again for all tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. And we will see you all next week, and I think we'll be sitting down, if I'm not mistaken, with Azaraz for a interview. Let me quickly check to make sure I'm not telling you all bogus stories. Shai, were there any questions in the meantime? Anything like that? Any thoughts, ideas, complaints?
No. Oh, I always have complaints, but no, not.
No,
We're all good.
you keep your complaints to yourself, woman.
See, that's why I don't even bother saying them.
Right, so next week, if I'm correct... Sorry about this, guys. It's taking a bit of time to load up. Oh, I'm only at April. Jump down, come on.
How do I jump or go down?
Wow, what's up? My PC's like shredding it. Right, November, here we go. Yep, so next week we should be sitting down with Azaraz, who's a content creator as well on YouTube for Pantheon. So we'll be sitting down with him and interviewing him, talking a bit about Pantheon, what gets him going, etc, etc. And we'll see you all for that next Friday at the usual time. Again, we didn't take into account that the US time zone changes from Sunday to Monday this weekend. So for you Americans out there, don't forget the time change.
That's why there's computers.
And with that, have a great weekend and we'll see you all next time.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Be safe, but be naughty.